I always believed marriage should be built on trust, respect, and love. That was the foundation Celeste and I had established when we first got together. We had been high school sweethearts, and the world seemed simple back then. We were both young, ambitious, and we had dreams of growing old together. But life had a funny way of turning those ideals upside down. From the very start, Celeste had always been a bit flirtatious. It was part of her charm, a playful quirk that I had found endearing at first. Her laughter was infectious, and she had a way of making everyone feel special in her presence. Her beauty, long dark hair, bright eyes, and an effortless smile, always drew attention, but I never thought twice about it. She was mine, and I trusted her completely. But that trust began to waver, slowly at first, then all at once. It started with the small things. At parties, Celeste would laugh just a little too loud at jokes from men I didn't know. She would brush her hand against a waiter's arm, or linger a bit too long in conversation with some guy at the bar. I'd tell myself it was nothing, just Celeste being her lively, charismatic self. But something inside me shifted each time, a gnawing feeling I couldn't shake. One night we attended a friend's birthday party, Daniel, my best friend since childhood. It was at a rooftop bar in the city, the kind of place with glittering lights and an air of sophistication that made everything feel like a movie scene. The moment Celeste stepped out of the car, I felt the shift in the air. She wore a red dress, a dress that clung to her curves in a way that made every man in the room notice. I should have known then. I should have recognized that familiar feeling of jealousy creeping into my chest. But I told myself I was being paranoid. I loved Celeste. She loved me. There was no reason for doubt. But as soon as we walked inside, I saw the way men looked at her. I watched as she worked the room, effortlessly capturing the attention of strangers and old friends alike. Her smile was like a beacon, pulling people toward her, and I hated how easy it seemed for her. I tried to ignore it at first. I made small talk with the other guests, keeping busy with my drink in hand, but Celeste's presence kept drawing my eye. She was talking to Alex, a guy she used to work with at her old job. I couldn't see the conversation clearly from where I stood, but the way she leaned in, the way her laughter seemed to linger just a little longer than necessary, something in my gut twisted. And then it happened. She laughed, and Alex placed his hand on her shoulder. Just a casual gesture, but it felt like a line being crossed. I couldn't stand it anymore. I walked toward them, trying to keep my composure, but I felt the anger bubbling up, an emotion I didn't recognize at first. Celeste turned to see me approach, her lips curving into a playful smile, as if she knew exactly what she was doing. She slid her arm through Alex's, and I saw it, the way he looked at her. It wasn't just friendly. "Hey there, sweetheart," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. Celeste raised an eyebrow, her eyes flicking between me and Alex. "Oh, you're here," she said, as if she hadn't noticed. Her tone was mocking, the kind of playful teasing that used to make me laugh. I forced a smile, but it didn't reach my eyes. "Yeah. Just thought I'd come say hi." Alex smiled at me, clearly not fazed by the tension. "You two are great together," he said. I nodded stiffly. "Yeah, we are." Celeste's eyes sparkled with something I couldn't quite place. "We should catch up soon," she said to Alex. "It's been ages." Alex gave her a wink before stepping away. I couldn't even look at him as he walked off. My gaze stayed locked on Celeste, who had just turned back to me. "What's your problem?" she asked, her voice sultry, as though she hadn't just been flirting with another man right in front of me. "I don't like the way you were talking to him," I said, my words clipped. She smirked, her lips curling in that way I hated. "Are you jealous, babe?" I opened my mouth to argue, but nothing came out. Because the truth was, I was. She tilted her head, her fingers lightly brushing my arm. "I can't help it, you know. Men like me." Her voice was teasing, but there was an underlying challenge in her tone. "I know they do," I said, my voice tight. "But you're mine." She leaned in, her breath hot against my ear. "Am I, though?" Her words hit me like a punch, leaving me breathless and unsure. Was I really hers? Had I been blind all this time? Or had I been lying to myself, pretending everything was fine while she slowly slipped away from me, inch by inch? I didn't know how to respond. I wanted to fight, to demand that she stop, to draw a line. But I didn't know if I had the strength. When we left that night, there was an uncomfortable silence between us. I tried to hold on to my anger, but something deeper was stirring inside me. A desire to prove something. To show her that I wouldn't just stand by and watch her play this game. But I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that the more I tried to hold on to her, the more she'd slip through my fingers. And no matter how many times I told myself I could trust her, the seed of doubt had already been planted. She glanced at me as we drove home, her eyes softening for just a moment. "You're mad," she said. I didn't answer. Instead, I gripped the steering wheel tighter, trying to control the storm that was brewing inside me. She was pushing me. I didn't know how far she could go, but I was about to find out. "Maybe I'll make you regret it," I said quietly, my voice barely audible over the hum of the car. She didn't respond. But I felt her eyes on me, studying me as though she could see the change in me. She had no idea what she had just started. Days turned into weeks, and the game Celeste played grew more frequent, more daring. Each interaction with another man was a calculated move, a test to see how far I would let her go before I snap. At first, I still tried to convince myself that it wasn't a big deal, that I was overreacting, but deep down, I knew the truth. Something had shifted. Our marriage, once solid and predictable, was now a battlefield of subtle manipulations and hidden desires. Every time she flirted with a stranger, or laughed a little too long at a joke from some handsome acquaintance, my resentment festered. And with every touch she casually exchanged with someone else, a darker, possessive feeling grew within me. The jealousy, once a fleeting emotion, became a constant companion. It gnawed at me when I saw her smile at another man in that special way she used to smile at me. It wasn't just about her actions anymore, it was about what they revealed beneath the surface. I began to observe her with a keen, unsettling focus. One afternoon, she came home late from work, her makeup slightly smudged and her dress a little wrinkled, as though she'd been out longer than she'd let on. She kissed me on the cheek in passing, too casual, almost too rehearsed. I could feel the tension radiating off her, the guilt she didn't know how to hide. "Late night?" I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral. She hesitated for a moment before answering. "Yeah, just had drinks with the girls after the meeting." I murmured, not really buying it. She wasn't exactly the type to go out for drinks with the girls. She was always too busy, too focused on work to make that a regular habit. But I said nothing, letting the suspicion eat away at me silently. That evening, when she went to bed, I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering what she was doing when she wasn't around. Was she out with someone else, just as flirtatious and playful as she was with me? I couldn't stand it any longer. Something inside me snapped. It was a few days later when I saw her again, this time with Ethan, the new neighbor. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a rugged charm that was hard to ignore. I had seen him around the building a couple of times, but this encounter was different. Celeste had invited him over for dinner under the guise of welcoming him to the neighborhood. I had no reason to worry, at least not yet. She was friendly with everyone, and I had no reason to be suspicious of her intentions until I saw the way she touched him. She was leaning against the kitchen counter, laughing at something Ethan had said, her fingers lightly brushing against his forearm. It was subtle, but I saw it. The way her hand lingered a second too long. The way her eyes softened when she looked at him. The tension between them was palpable, the kind of electricity that I had once felt when we were first together. I couldn't take my eyes off them. My grip tightened on the glass of wine I was holding. She was making me feel invisible. She was making me feel irrelevant. I stepped into the room, trying to steady my breath, to hide the fury that was building inside me. "Everything okay here?" I asked, my voice sharp. Both of them turned toward me. Celeste's smile faltered for a split second, but she recovered quickly, brushing it off like it was nothing. Yeah, everything's fine. We're just chatting. I could feel Ethan's eyes on me now, assessing, calculating. His gaze flicked from me to Celeste, then back to me, as if trying to gauge the situation. Celeste was still smiling, but I could see the flicker of challenge in her eyes, like she was daring me to say something. I knew what she was doing. She was testing me, pushing me further, seeing how much I could take before I broke. And I was breaking. I put the glass down, my knuckles white from the pressure. Maybe I'll head to bed. You two can finish your little chat. Celeste didn't even try to stop me. She didn't care. She was enjoying this, enjoying the way she was stringing me along like a puppet on a string. As I made my way to the bedroom, I heard them laughing behind me, the sound of her laughter like a knife twisting in my gut. I couldn't escape it, no matter how hard I tried. The thought of her with him, with anyone else, was suffocating. I lay in bed, the sheets cold and untouched beside me, my mind racing. What had happened to us? How had we gotten here? What was I supposed to do now? I had always prided myself on being the calm, collected one, the one who didn't let emotions get the best of him. But Celeste had unraveled me piece by piece. The next morning, when I woke up, I saw that Celeste had already left for work. I checked my phone, and there was a message from her. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable last night. I was just being friendly. Love you. I stared at the screen for a long time, unsure of how to respond. The message was as cold and empty as everything else in our marriage lately. There was no real apology in her words, no acknowledgement of the hurt she'd caused me. It was as if she was trying to soothe me with empty words, to make everything seem fine when it was far from it. I could feel the anger swelling again. But this time, it wasn't just anger. It was something else, something deeper. It was hunger. A desire to make her feel the way she had made me feel for so long. I wasn't going to be the passive observer anymore. I wasn't going to let her walk all over me and get away with it. I was done with waiting. Done with letting her provoke me without consequences. If she wanted to play, I'd play too. But I would make sure she regretted every second of it. For the next few days, I played my role well, silent, distant, and cold. I was no longer the man who would smile and let things slide. I wasn't about to be her punching bag, nor was I going to allow her to manipulate me any longer. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I wasn't the only one who was playing a game. Celeste had been drawing me into her web, trying to make me the fool. But now, the tables were about to turn. It was a Thursday night when I saw her again, this time in a different light. She had come home late from work again. I didn't say anything when she walked through the door, her eyes avoiding mine. It was all too familiar. But this time, instead of staying silent, I spoke up. I wanted her to know I wasn't blind anymore. I wasn't stupid. Out with the girls again? I asked, my tone casual, but laced with something darker. She glanced at me, her face unreadable. Yes, she said, dismissing my question with a wave of her hand. But her eyes flicked quickly to the clock, a nervous habit she had whenever she was lying. Really? I asked, leaning back in my chair. Because last time it was just drinks. Tonight you seem different. You smell like someone else's cologne. She froze, the color draining from her face for a split second. The smile that had once been so effortless on her lips faltered, and that was all I needed to know. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, the words coming out too quickly. I just had a long meeting and stayed for dinner with the team. Nothing more. I could see it now, the guilt in her eyes, the way she couldn't hold my gaze for long. She had never been good at lying to me. But now she was too far gone. She had crossed a line, and I was done being the one who always turned a blind eye. I'm sure, I said, my voice low. But you don't need to keep hiding it from me anymore, Celeste. I know about Ethan. Her eyes widened, and her lips parted as if she was about to say something, but no words came out. Her entire body stiffened, and for a moment, I could see the fear flash across her face. She realized I wasn't the same man she'd married. "What do you mean, she finally asked, her voice trembling slightly. I smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. "I saw you with him the other night. The touch, the way you looked at him. I saw it all. And frankly, I've been watching you for weeks now. You've been pushing me, haven't you?" She swallowed hard, her gaze dropping to the floor. "I don't know what you're talking about. You're being paranoid." "Am I?" I asked, leaning forward, my eyes never leaving hers. "I don't think so. You've been flirting with every man in sight. First Alex, then Ethan. And I'm sure there are more. Do you think I'm blind?" Her eyes darted to the side, a hint of guilt flashing in them before she could hide it again. The silence that followed was thick and suffocating. It was like we were standing at the edge of a cliff, each of us waiting to see who would step over first. But then, Celeste surprised me. She straightened up, her shoulders square, her expression one of defiance. "What do you want from me then?" she demanded. "Should I just stop living my life, stop enjoying myself because you're insecure? If you can't handle the way I am, then maybe we shouldn't be together at all." I could feel my heart race. She was so damn confident, so brazen in her words, as if she wasn't the one who had crossed the line. But I wasn't going to let her manipulate me any longer. "I want you to stop playing games, Celeste," I said quietly, my voice cold. "I want you to stop pretending like I'm stupid. You want freedom, fine. But don't drag me along with your lies." She laughed bitterly, but there was a crack in her laughter. "You think I'm playing games? You think I'm the one lying here? Maybe I'm just trying to find something I've been missing. Something you can't give me anymore." The words stung more than I expected. They cut deeper than I wanted to admit. But I was done being the victim. "If you're so desperate for something else, maybe you should go find it. But just know that I'm not going to sit here and wait for you to come crawling back when you realize what you had." Her face twisted with a mixture of anger and confusion. "Is that a threat?" she asked, her voice rising. "Are you threatening to leave me? Do you think I'm the one who's been betraying us?" "You've changed." "Maybe I have," I said, standing up slowly, every step calculated, every movement deliberate. "But don't mistake my patience for weakness. You've pushed me too far, Celeste. And I'm not going to just stand by and watch you tear us apart." I turned to walk away, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't need to look back to know that she was stunned, that she had no idea how to react. For the first time in our marriage, the power had shifted. She no longer controlled the narrative. I did. But Celeste wasn't done yet. I knew her too well. She wasn't just going to let me go without a fight. As I reached the door, I heard her voice again, low but sharp. "Is this how you're going to play it, then? You think you can just walk away and leave me to chase someone else? You're wrong, I can do whatever I want." I stopped, my hand on the doorknob, and turned around. There was a fire in her eyes now, something darker than before. Something dangerous. "You think you can do whatever you want? You're not the only one who's capable of playing games, Celeste. You're going to regret this." And with that, I walked out of the room, leaving her standing there, speechless. The days that followed were filled with a tense silence between Celeste and me. It was as if we were both waiting for the other to make the first move, to decide if we were going to salvage what was left of our marriage or let it crumble entirely. She continued to play her part, the busy professional, the charming woman who smiled and laughed, pretending as if nothing had changed. But I could see through her act now. The mask she wore was slipping, and I was the one pulling the strings. I didn't waste time trying to beg her to stay. I wasn't going to beg for scraps of affection from someone who had so clearly moved on. Instead, I spent my time focusing on something else, myself. I went to the gym more often, met up with old friends, and even started dating again, something I hadn't done in years. I wasn't going to sit around and watch her walk all over me. She'd made her bed, and now it was time for me to live my life on my own terms. But it didn't take long before I began receiving subtle signs that Celeste was feeling the strain. She would glance at me when she thought I wasn't paying attention, a mix of longing and regret in her eyes. But there was something else there too, an unease, as if she were realizing the truth that she could no longer control me. Then, one Friday night, the breaking point came. I came home late from a dinner with a potential business partner, my mind buzzing with thoughts of my future, my career, my independence, the new direction I was headed. As I opened the door to our apartment, I immediately noticed something was off. The lights were dimmed, and I could hear the faint sound of soft music playing in the background. It wasn't unusual for Celeste to be home at this hour, but something about the atmosphere felt different. I stepped inside cautiously, setting my briefcase down by the door. The apartment was silent except for the music. Celeste wasn't in the living room, and I couldn't hear the usual sounds of her tapping away on her laptop. My heart rate quickened as I walked further into the apartment, a sense of foreboding settling in the pit of my stomach. I found her in the bedroom, standing near the window, staring out into the night. She wasn't looking at me as I entered, but I could see the tension in her posture. There was a certain finality to the way she stood. The sight of her made something inside me tighten. I had long stopped caring about the things she had done with other men, but there was something about this moment, something about the silence between us, that made me feel as if everything had come to a head. Celeste. I called softly, my voice cutting through the stillness. She turned slowly, and for the first time in weeks, I saw vulnerability in her eyes. It wasn't the confident, flirtatious woman I had known. This was someone broken, someone realizing she had made a mistake. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The weight of everything unspoken hung in the air like a thick fog. "I didn't think you would come back tonight," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I thought you were done." I studied her for a long moment. There was a weariness to her, an exhaustion that went beyond the superficial. But I wasn't sure what to do with it. After all the games, after everything she had put me through, did I still owe her anything? "You've pushed me away, Celeste," I replied, my voice steady but cold. "You wanted freedom, and I gave it to you. I'm not here to fix things. I'm not here to play the fool anymore." She walked towards me then, her steps hesitant, like she wasn't sure what kind of response she was hoping for. Her eyes were searching mine, as if she were trying to find something that was no longer there. "I know I've hurt you," she said softly, her voice cracking. "But I was lost. I thought I needed something else, someone else, to fill the emptiness. But now I see it wasn't what I needed at all." I didn't say anything for a long time, just stood there, letting her words hang in the air. Could I trust her? Could I even care about her again after everything? "I've made mistakes too," she continued, her voice barely a whisper. "I didn't see how much I was pushing you away, how much I was hurting you. But I realize now that I've lost you." "You didn't just lose me, Celeste," I said, my words sharp. "You lost yourself. And now you're realizing that you can't fill the void with anyone else but yourself. You wanted something from me that I couldn't give anymore, and that's on you, not me." Her eyes filled with tears, and for a fleeting moment, I almost felt sorry for her. But I knew better now. I knew that the games had gone on too long, that there was no going back to who we once were. The woman standing before me was no longer the one I had married. She was someone else, someone who had made her choices and now had to live with the consequences. "You were never the problem," I said, my voice softer now, but firm. "The problem was that you couldn't see me. You couldn't see us. You were too busy running after something that didn't exist." She wiped away a tear, nodding slowly. "I'm sorry. I really am. But I can't make it right. Not anymore." I took a deep breath and finally met her gaze, the finality of the moment sinking in. "You don't need to apologize. You just need to understand that this is over. We're over. There's nothing left here but memories, and I'm not holding on to them anymore." For a long time, she just stood there, her eyes full of regret. And for a brief moment I felt a pang of guilt. Maybe she really was sorry. But I couldn't keep doing this. I couldn't keep chasing after someone who had already left me long before she physically walked away. I hope you find what you're looking for, I said, turning to walk out of the room. But I won't be here when you do. I didn't wait for her response. There was nothing more to say. As I grabbed my coat and walked out the door, I felt a strange sense of relief. It was over. She was gone, and so was the version of me who had clung to something that was never going to be. The silence in the apartment was deafening as I left. But this time, it wasn't a bad kind of silence. It was the silence of closure, of finality. And for the first time in months, I felt free.